Who dat to the Who Dat Nation, and welcome to the Dome Patrol Podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the game recap of the Week 3 matchup between the New Orleans Saints and the Green Bay Packers. Oh my God. Saints fall for the first time this season, losing to the Packers by the score of 17-18. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this game. I just can't. For some strange reason, it's just not computing with me. I don't understand how you get completely shut out in the second half. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, we did our own little shutout in the first half. It was the tale of two halves. It was Saints going into halftime 17-0 on the road. Everything's looking just spot on perfect. We're getting punts returned for touchdowns. We're getting red zone touchdowns caught by Jimmy Graham. We're moving the ball. We're running the ball pretty decent. I mean, everything was clicking in that first half. And all of a sudden, the kiss of death happens. Derek Carr goes down. I mean, in a blink and you miss it type of a deal where he lands on his shoulder and it looks like he has damaged his shoulder. I don't know how severe. We haven't gotten any news as of yet, at least at the time of this recording. But I still felt good about the game. We were winning 17-0. You know, Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers at that point didn't show me anything that would indicate that they could muster a comeback. So I still felt confident. I still felt like, okay, Jameis Winston can come in, orchestrate a drive or two, because you only needed like one more score to really put it out of reach. And so I'm thinking we have at least one drive and that we can put together in the second half to really put this baby to bed. Well, it didn't happen. I mean, if we want to play the excuse game, if we want to go that route, you know, Derek Carr got hurt. And so, okay, then we can use that excuse. We can use the excuse of that touchdown drive that the Green Bay Packers had at the end. You can say that the referees kind of ushered them up the field. You can make that argument. You can say our kicker missing the kick at the end of the game. Sure. I'm not making any excuses. None of that I felt factored in at the end result of this game. Honest to God, I really think that this falls on the coaches. The complete collapse of this team in the second half is purely on the coaching. They got too conservative on offense. They defensively, they were tired because they was on the field almost the entire second half. I mean, when your offense is going 3 and out, and you constantly being put back on the field, yeah, you're going to get tired. And that's exactly what happened. You know, it wasn't a prevent defense and all this here. It's just a simple fact. They got wore out. They got wore out. And it was bad play calling on the offensive side of the ball in the second half. That is really, really troubling to me. A complete contrast to the second half. I mean, the first half, because the first half, I was really sitting here like, boy, not Dennis Allen, Pete Carmichael is calling probably his best game as offensive coordinator. They had a perfect balance on offense. They were running the ball. They were passing the ball. They were taking what the defense was giving them. You know, they took their shots only when they needed to take their shots. They utilized Jimmy Graham in the red zone. They did everything right in the first half. And then two different teams. I think that team stayed in the locker room at halftime because this was two different teams in the course of this game. This was very, very upsetting. Very upsetting. I'm not mad that we lost. It's all right that we lose. You can't win them all. I'm mad how we lost. That's what's upsetting to me. When you had firm control of a game like this, I mean, bro, Green Bay was ready to quit. They were ready to give it up. Man, they going for it on fourth. They couldn't get it. They're passing up on field goals to go for it on fourth, and they come out empty-handed. They were ready to go home. They were already home, but they were ready to just leave the stadium. And we give the ball right back to them. 3 and out. Here you go. Try again. And they did it. You know, very upsetting. To recap, the New Orleans Saints had a 17-point lead in the third quarter when quarterback Derek Carr was knocked out of the game with a right shoulder injury on a sack. Now, I want to talk about that sack. For the past couple of weeks, I've been putting a lot on that offensive line. And the offensive line, they weren't perfect today, but they played better today. But on that particular sack, that wasn't on the offensive line. Derek Carr held that ball just a tad bit too long. You know, he should have threw that ball away. But that had stopped him from being hit and you know, falling on his shoulder. I don't know, you know, but I'm not putting that on the offensive line. Without Carr, the Saints couldn't hold onto the lead as the Green Bay Packers rallied for an 18-17 victory. The loss drops the Saints to 2-1, and it brings the Packers up 2-1. Veteran quarterback Jameis Winston came in relief of Derek Carr and made several strong throws. He played all right, in particularly to star receiver Michael Thomas, who prior to this didn't get a catch in the game, but I believe he ended up with 3, if I'm not mistaken. But the offense couldn't sustain a drive, punting on 5 possessions, 5 people in the second half. Rookie kicker Blake Grupe had a chance to give the Saints the lead with his 46-yard field goal attempt, but missed it wide right with 1 minute and 5 seconds left in the game to play. And I must tell you, even when he was preparing to kick it, and I felt he was going to make it, it just drifted on him. I still didn't think we was going to win the game. Even if he would have made it, I still felt the Saints would have lost this game. I don't know why, but you know, the way the momentum has switched, and when it's switched, the crowd came alive. I thought everybody left the stadium at one point and came back in the fourth quarter because it got loud, it got hyped. It was just a buzzsaw, man. It was a meat grinder after the Saints couldn't get anything going on offense. Derek Carr was 13 of 18 for 103 yards and a touchdown pass to Jimmy Graham. Jameis Winston was 10 for 16 for 101 yards. Chris Olave was the top receiver once again with 8 catches and 104 yards, including once again an incredible one-handed catch for a 27-yard completion in the first half. Rookie running back Kendrick Miller, he played in his first game today. He had 9 carries for 34 yards. Tony Jones Jr., he added 31 yards to the rushing total. Returner Rashid Shaheed had one of the biggest plays with a 76-yard punt return for a touchdown in the first half. The Saints also lost right guard Cesar Ruiz to a concussion in the first half. The Saints will host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are currently 2-0. They play on Monday night against the Philadelphia Eagles, but we will play them this Sunday in the Dome. This will mark the return of our playmaker, our star running back, Alvin Kamara, after he serves a 3-game suspension. Let's go over the stats in this game, beginning with our individual stats, starting with the New Orleans Saints, of course. Passing, Derek Carr was 13 of 18 for 103 yards, 1 touchdown. He was sacked 3 times, one of them resulting in his injury. He had a quarterback rating of 104.6. Jameis Winston, he came in relief of Derek Carr He was 10 for 16, 101 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, and he had a quarterback rating of 80.5. For the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love, he was 22 of 44, 259 yards, one touchdown, one interception. He had a quarterback rating of 66.4. Running the ball, the New Orleans Saints, we have Kendrick Miller. He carried the ball 9 times for 34 yards. He averaged 3.8 yards per carry. Tony Jones Jr. had the ball 8 times for 31 yards. He averaged 3.9 yards per carry. Taysom Hill carried the ball 4 times for 12 yards. He averaged 3 yards a carry. For the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love was their leading rusher today, along with being their leading passer. He carried the ball 9 times for 39 yards. It's kind of deceiving because he had that one big run for 24 yards towards the end of the game, which was just backbreaking. I knew he lost in when he did that. So I'm gonna be honest with you. When I saw that, I was like, man, they gave up. It's just done. AJ Dillon, he carried the ball 11 times for 33 yards. Receiving, leading receiver today for the Saints, a no-brainer. Chris Olave, 8 catches, 104 yards. Michael Thomas, 6 catches for 50 yards. Tony Jones Jr., 4 catches for 21 yards. Juwan Johnson, 2 catches for 12 yards. Taysom Hill, 1 catch for 9 yards. Jimmy Graham, 1 catch for 8 yards and a touchdown. For the Green Bay Packers, their leading receiver was Romeo Doubs. 5 catches for 73 yards and a touchdown. Jaden Reed, no relation, 3 catches for 63 yards. Luke Musgrave, 6 catches for 49 yards. Wicks, 4 catches for 45 yards. Patrick Taylor, 3 catches for 23 yards. And Emmanuel Wilson, 1 catch for 6 yards. Moving over to team stats, starting with first downs, the New Orleans Saints had 15 first downs. That was 9 by passing, 5 by rushing, 1 by penalty. The Green Bay Packers had 21 first downs, 13 by passing, 5 by running, and 3 by penalty. Third down efficiency, Saints were 4 for 14. Horrible. Green Bay weren't too much better. They were 8 for 18, but man, come on, man. Come on now. Fourth down efficiency, Saints went for it 1 time and converted. They were 100% on fourth downs, whereas the Green Bay Packers were 1 of 3. Total plays, Saints had 60 total plays. Green Bay 71. Total yardage, Saints had 252 total yards to the Green Bay Packers 340. Yards per play, Saints averaged 4.2 yards per play to the Green Bay Packers 4.8. Passing the ball, Green Bay once again wins in this category with 245 yards. Saints 175. Red zone efficiency, Saints were 1 of 2. The Green Bay Packers were 2 of 3. Penalties, Saints had 7 penalties for 102 yards. Green Bay Packers 11 penalties for 90 yards. I mentioned earlier about those penalties on that last drive on the Saints defense, the 2 pass interference calls. I just did not agree with. I'm sorry. I didn't agree with it. I'm not making excuses. That's why we lost the game. But, I mean, let's be real, man. I mean, let's be honest. Those were not good calls. They were not. Especially that one on, oh, my God, what's his name? Number 27. I can't think of his name. That was a bad one. Horrible one. Well, actually, I think both of them were on him, now that I think about it. The turnover battle, Saints won that. Saints did get an interception today. They did get a special teams touchdown. Time of possession, Saints lost that battle. The day being the New Orleans Saints held the ball for 27 minutes and 25 seconds. Green Bay had the ball 32 minutes and 35 seconds. This is an upsetting loss, people. This is one of those games you supposed to win. You are supposed to win this game. You was in full control, man. Full control. Green Bay had no answer for the New Orleans Saints, especially the defense. They had no answer. Offensively, they were clicking, but if you want to throw in that excuse that quarterback was down, that's fine, and you can make that argument because the game changed after that. Honestly, and this is why I got frustrated with Pete Carmichael. They went so conservative in the second half when Jameis Winston was in the game. They didn't want him to mess it up, I guess. They didn't want him to turn the ball over. Whatever. I don't know what it was, but it was just not called the same. And I wasn't expecting it to be verbatim. We keep rolling like we were rolling. Let's be real. It weren't like the offense was firing on all cylinders when Derek Carr was in there either. But they were moving the ball they were starting to get a groove going. This score, if Derek Carr stays upright throughout this game, we blow these people out by 20. We probably do what I ain't gonna go that far. I was gonna say what Miami did to Denver today. Did y'all see that? Miami destroyed the Denver Broncos. I think it was 70-20. Oh my God, that kind of made me feel a little better because at least we didn't get that done to us. We lost, but my God, that was horrible what happened in Miami today. But anywho's, a loss is a loss. It don't matter. What makes this sting a little bit more to put on top of the little Sunday, this is a NFC game. You know, this is an NFC loss. And that will come back to haunt us at the end if it comes down to tiebreakers and this, that, and the third. So that's upsetting too. And man, to just squander that. For 3.5 quarters, you had this game in firm control. Firm control. Offensively, we just could not keep it going. Well, let's get our grades, and then we're gonna talk about who gets the game ball and who has to sit in the corner and get up out of here today. I need to go soak in my sorrows. Let's start with our grades today. In case you don't know, if this is your first time listening, welcome, by the way. But this is how we grade the Saints' performance. We go by unit: offense, defense, special teams, and coaching. We average it all out and come up with an overall grade for today's performance. Beginning with our offense. Offense gets a C. It was an A. And then they started failing at the end. It was bad. They had no offense in that second half. Couldn't convert a first down, third down. They couldn't run the ball. They went completely away from running the ball. They didn't even try. It was, at that point, in the fourth quarter, let's try to milk the clock. Force Mike LaFleur to use some of his timeouts, you know? None of that was done. That was, the offense just could not stay on the field. They get a C today. Defense gets a B plus. Defense did an excellent job throughout this game. And defense, I know we lost. I know that gave up them 18 points at the end of the game. That wasn't on the defense. That was not on the defense. You look at this game, throughout this game, Jordan Love was not comfortable. He couldn't find open receivers. People were locked up down the field. It was just, they had to earn every single point. Now, if you want to take something away from this game, even though we lost, they being the Packers, had to earn and fight and scratch and claw for all 18 of those points. It weren't like it was given to them. Saints made them earn it, so you can tip your hat to that. Defense gets a B plus. Special teams gets a B plus today. We got a punt return for a touchdown. and that was about the shining spot on special teams. I'm not, look, is it me or is everybody feeling the same way I feel about this punter? I'm not feeling him, bruh. I'm sorry, dude is just not getting it for me. In comparisons to our kicker from last year, what's his name? Blake Gillip, Gillikin. He, I'd rather have him. I'd rather have him. He was good. That's why when they made that decision to go with this dude here, the 30-year-old rookie, I was like, boy, he must be a beast because I really didn't know much about him. But man, them kicks are sorry looking. Those are some sorry looking kicks coming off of this dude. I'm not feeling them. And, you know, our poor field goal kicker, I still love the little fella, but he did miss that field goal that would have gave us the lead late. So I knocked the special teams for that. But the special teams did score that touchdown. So in that regard, I got to give them a B plus. Plus, they did some real. They were real good in coverage. It really wasn't much return yardage on the Green Bay side. So good job by the special teams, except for a couple of full pause there. Coaching gets a C minus. I said earlier, Pete Carmichael in that first half called a flawless offensive game. It was. I'm telling you, I was prepared to come on the show. I actually wrote notes down that I'm not going to repeat here because it doesn't make sense. But I actually wrote notes saying how I was going to apologize to Pete Carmichael. He really does know what he's doing. I mean, this was in the first half, of course, and then the second half happened. And I had to take that, rip it out of my notebook, and throw it away. Now, I understand our starting quarterback went down, but come on, man. He went down. When he went to the locker room, he took the playbook with him, too? I'm so confused on what took place in that second half offensively. Yeah, bad call, but poorly called, should I say, game in that second half. Coaching gets a C minus. That gives us an overall grade for the New Orleans Saints today in the loss, a C, a solid C. And the reason I'm giving it a C because I don't know what happened, and so I'm still kind of lost. Like, what happened? I'm kind of punch drunk, you know. I might do a show tomorrow when I had time to sit down and kind of digest this game, but because I'm so lost. What happened? Oh man, whatever. But let's go over the game balls and those who have to sit in the corner. Let's start with who gets the game ball today. Who gets the game ball today was kind of close. And there were two players, so I decided to go with two because I think both players did exceptionally well today. Rashid Shaheed and Alontae Taylor on defense. Those two get game balls today. Shaheed for that 76-yard punt return. Excellent. That was what the doctor ordered at that point in time in the game. I felt like, because we were kind of struggling at that point, and then that happened. The kickoff happened, and it was like, man, the team started clicking all of a sudden. That was just a jolt until Carr went down, and then it just went back down. But he did an awesome job today. But if I had to choose just one, it would be Alontae Taylor. Alontae Taylor played just lights out at the corner position today, breaking up pass. I've never seen so many broken up passes in my life. He was covering all of them, really. But he was doing an excellent job. And for some strange reason, Jordan Love just kept going at him until the end of the game when he realized, you know what, I'm gonna start going at this rookie. And that's how they won the game. But they kept going at Taylor, and Taylor kept embarrassing him. And he even got a sack or two. So, I mean, Taylor was acting a fool out there. Yeah, he gets the game ball today. Who has to sit in the corner. Pete Archibald Carmichael Jr. Yes, he has to sit in the corner. For him, and I'm putting it all on him because he's the offensive coordinator. The mere fact that this team couldn't get an ounce of offense going in the second half is troubling on so many levels. I mean, the play calling was so pedestrian. Look, I'm to the point, if Jameis Winston is not that good of a quarterback to whereas he can't understand the plays, the playbook, get him off the team. Because if you gotta dumb down the playbook because of this guy, change the whole offense because of this guy, get him off the team. Get somebody in here who can do it. Because this ain't gonna work. I pray Derek Carr is not seriously hurt, that he will return soon. I pray. Because if we gotta go through another week or two with a pedestrian called offense like we have been for the past 2 years, because this is what it reminded me of in that second half. It reminded me of an Andy Dalton-led offense from last year. It reminded me of a Trevor Siemian at quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. That's the type of play calling we got in that second half. Too conservative. No chances taken. Now, I'm all for trying to run out the clock and all that. That's what they should have been doing. But you got to take a shot down the field. You got to do something, to try to flip field position. They did none of that. They did none of that. The Green Bay Packers didn't have to travel the length of the field. They didn't have to do that except for one time, and they came up with nothing when they started off at the 10-yard line and on that 12 or 13 play drive and came out with nothing. All right. Other than that, they had good field position basically the whole game, and part of that's because your punter. But it was, I'm sorry, man, Pete Carmichael. I'm trying, man. I'm trying with this dude, and it's just not working, and it's frustrating because it feels like I'm the only one saying this. Nobody else noticed this. My God, this is frustrating. I'm I'm pulling my hair out. I've got a bald head, people, and I'm just pulling my scab off of my skull. This is frustrating on so many levels. This guy is not it. We need another offensive coordinator. I'm sorry. It's not working. It's not working. And I'm scared going forward. Now, I know it's not the end of the world. We're only 2-1. It's not the end of the world. But, nah. I don't feel any encouragement, looking at the second half of this game. Because, they got punched in the mouth and they just folded up in the fetal position and allowed the Green Bay Packers to kick us while we was down. Basically monkey stompers while we curled up in the fetal position on the ground. It was embarrassing. That was an embarrassing game to watch, to have a 17-point lead going into the fourth quarter and squander it. I don't know. But in any event, just a reminder, in case you didn't know, to New Orleans Saints fall to 2-1 today after they lost to the Green Bay Packers by the score of 18-17. I'm going to say this and we're going to get up out of here. And I say we as Saints fans, us in the Who Dat Nation, for the past couple of weeks, I've been hearing so much slander, so much negativity towards Derek Carr. Y'all see why we went and got Derek Carr. Now, we didn't lose the game because of Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston had nothing to do with the results of this game. Jameis Winston actually came in there and did the best he could as a backup. He didn't turn the ball over. He was trying to move the ball upfield. It just so happened, it was some bad play calling. And so that's not Jameis Winston's fault. It has nothing to do with him. I'm just saying the way the game was called after Derek Carr left. They have no confidence in Jameis Winston. That's fine. But man, it was a completely different team. A completely different team without Derek Carr. I just need him back. And so for the next 6 days, I need everybody to say a prayer for Derek Carr. I don't know if you're particularly spiritual or not. If you are, it's time for you to get Jesus in your life. Let's let's start praying for Derek Carr's recovery. Hopefully he can bounce back from this injury. On next Sunday, the New Orleans Saints will be hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Dome. Another division matchup. I'm hoping for a better outcome. I'm praying for a better outcome than what we got today. We shall see. I would like to know, how are you feeling today after this loss? Are you scared? Are you worried? Are you upset? Are you you figured that we were going to lose this game? I mean, Vegas had us losing anyway by a point, so I guess they called it. They called it. But I would like to know how you feel. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can look me up on all social media platforms. Just look up the KB Radio Network. Don't forget that we're on YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Also, don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the Dome Patrol podcast here on the KB Radio Network. Oh, man, this is going to be a stinky week. You know, the day just ain't right when, the week just don't go right when the Saints lose. But I'm going to try to pick my head up, pick myself up by my bootstrap, and barger on till next week. We're on to Tampa. It's on to Tampa. Let's refocus, re-engage, and try to get back on track next week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Until then, I'm still going to be screaming, "Who dat?"